This is the Opie Anthony Show.
Very excited to have Dr. J back on the radio show.
Oh, there he is.
The great one, Julius Irving. Dr. J.
Hello, sir.
Sir, take a seat.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
What's up, brother?
Good to see you. How we doing?
No problem. Doing good.
You wrote a good book, sir.
Thank you.
An honest book.
Right.
You didn't have to tell all these stories. You could have had a fluff book.
Why would I do that?
You could fluff it up a little bit.
40 years ago. Right?
We are
40
on,
years
sir.
ago, it would have been fluff.
Yeah.
What am I saying?
You can sit right there. We're actually live right now.
Dr. J is a legend.
Settling in.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the book.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
Are you happy how it came out?
Very pleased with it.
Right.
Very pleased with it. You know, for me, it was a family legacy play.
Right.
You know, being the last of my immediate family. Mom's gone, dad's gone, stepfather's gone, brother's gone, sister's gone. So, you know, I have a new family. But in terms of Irving and Abney legacy, first person getting the word out
You wrote your
to
own
the
book.
world as well as for the family
Right.
to hear it from me while I'm here.
Right. You wrote in the first person. I kind of like the style a lot. So
Yeah.
It was very sad, the part where you talk about, I mean, there's been a lot of deaths that you've dealt with, but, you know, I wasn't going to mention, but you just mentioned your brothers. It was really, really sad to read that, because the way you know, it's like I didn't know them, but you build up these people from, you know, the stories in the book, and you get somewhat attached to them, and then you read a chapter, and you're like, oh, no, all right, he's all right. And then the next chapter, it's like, ugh. But it really was a really well-written, sad moment.
Yeah, the roller coaster ride of, you know, the highs associated with sports success, academic success, and, you know, I guess success in terms of personal relationships and non-successes. But, you know, what the public pretty much knows about mostly is, you know, what's reported in terms of, you know, rise and fall of a sports person.
Yeah.
You know, you win or you lose. You win or you lose, come back, you try again the next year. So there's a 16-year window in which I was a professional athlete. But at age 63, you know, now you got 47 years of accountability. And less before than after. So there's been more, you know, since I walked off the court. And
you said
that's what I wanted to share.
You mentioned your age, 63. I hear there's a video of you dunking at 63. Is that true?
Yeah, I can throw it down. I can still throw it down. It's, you know, it rattles a little bit, but who cares? You know, as long as it stays in.
You're still dunking.
And actually, the day when I dunked, we were working on the documentary, and it was in February, and I went and I sat for about 4 hours, you know, being filmed on camera, talking about stuff. And they said, well, can you dunk a few? Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, we've been sitting here. So, you know, lace them up, put on, you know, the shorts and the whole deal, which, you know, you guys have on that right there in front of me right now.
Oh, okay. It did rattle a little bit.
We gotta call that a rub-in. But that was after sitting for 4 hours, and then I go over and I stretch on the bench.
Right.
You know, it's like, you know, you try to stretch for about 5 or 6 minutes. And then, you know, I go in there and I miss. And then I go in and I make it. And I said, is that enough? Because, you know, you don't want to get hurt.
No.
Do your knees and groin still bother you, or is that kind of fun?
Actually, I found this training method. Can I shamelessly endorse it here?
Oh,
Yeah,
please.
sure. Please,
If it's
go ahead.
groin strengthening, yeah.
It's the next big thing. It's called Fitwall. And it's booming in San Diego and, you know, Southern California right now. So it's moving east. But I got 2 in my basement. So I go there and I get a cardio workout, I get a flexibility workout, and I get a strength workout.
Fitwall?
And it's head to toe. It's head to toe.
Football.
You heard it here.
Yes. Well, swim walking's a big one. Yeah, it's for swim walking.
And Dr. J obviously made the slam dunk, you know, popular. People really weren't dunking before you for whatever reason.
Yeah, I always
Or it
saw,
wasn't
I always
impressive
saw
when they
Chamberlain,
did it.
Duncan, and Russell, you know, they're just going and getting over the rim and
Yeah, they didn't.
kind of laying it down, but nobody raring
Tomahawk.
back. You know, now,
Yeah,
Connie Hawkins was
you're right.
doing that. You know, he
was there.
It's like he'd go down the lane, and then I remember he had one of the greatest quotes of ever because he said, they either got to lower the rim or raise the floor because the hawk can't soar no more. And I said, I'm gonna have that day happen to me.
Oh, man.
At some point because,
The way you
once a year, what are you going to do?
The way you described the dunking was amazing too. Like when you're going, like from the foul line or however many feet, it's the things you saw. Like you're like, and I noticed that he jumped, but his hand was coming back down, which meant that he was coming. Like you saw so much in that split second that you're up in the air and make a lot of decisions. It's not just jump up and throw the ball in.
Yeah, there's a consciousness, and when you're in the air, literally it's only a split second,
Right.
and but it could seem like more, if you move the ball from left hand to right hand. Or, the way they do it now, the guys go behind their backs, they go under the legs. They do a whole lot of freaky stuff that we didn't do. But because I could palm the ball and Connie Hawkins could palm the ball and some other guys, we would maneuver it around and make it very difficult for shot blockers.
Jeez.
But I used to always think, it was attacking the basket, just look for daylight. And if there was a head or a shoulder or a hand, there's no daylight there, so you go where that's not,
Right.
And
Twisting
have fun,
and turning.
have fun with it.
Some famous Dr. J shots where he's just twisting and turning in the air. Just amazing. The one thing I learned about reading your book was that I always just thought you were Dr. J your entire basketball career, but you came out of nowhere. You almost didn't make it into the pros. Right?
It's funny you should say that.
I did not realize that. I thought you were like a superstar and everyone knew about you from a very early age, but that's not the truth here.
There's so many assumptions, right? And I really came in the side door and caught a lot of people by surprise.
That amazes me.
And one of the things was, I guess, with UMass getting snubbed 2 years in which we won our conference, where we didn't have automatic bids to the NCAA tournament, and that was the bigger tournament, 32 teams, and there was 16 to the NIT. But we won our conference. We got recognized by the NIT. Then we got eliminated in the first round, both years to the eventual champions, which were Marquette and North Carolina.
Okay.
And so it was easy to be overlooked. And even after my sophomore year, in which I was, one of the nation's leading scorers and second in the nation in rebounding, they said, well, we want to get all the young players together, in Colorado and get ready for the Olympics. So I was snubbed then as well. And my coach, Jack Lehman, who's no longer with us, he pushed hard, got me on the alternates list. A couple guys got hurt, so I go out as an alternate, and now I end up being the leading scorer and rebounder in the camp. And, go on a nice tour of Russia, Poland, and Finland at age 20, lead the team in scoring and rebounding.
Didn't you say Russia was a real dump where you were?
The courts were very inferior, so as well as the food. I'm sure it's changed now.
Yeah, but back then it kind of sucked.
Finland was pretty cool. It was bright and it never got dark, and it was a new experience for a bunch of young guys going over there and hanging out. But after Russia and Poland, man, it was so good to get back to America. It was the proverbial, I got to kiss the sidewalk when I get home.
Yeah.
But even though you were a great player, you're being overlooked, and then a little luck there, or we wouldn't know you as Dr. J.
Yeah, I was the doctor in high school and through college. Me and my best buddy, we coined nicknames, but it became Dr. J in Virginia, and with Bob Travellini, who was the trainer, he came up with Dr. J, because they used to call the one of the other trainers was Doc, and then they had the team physician, he was Doc. So I couldn't just be Doc. So I had to be Dr. J. And they started promoting Charlie the Great Scott and Julius Dr. J. Irving. Virginia Squires are coming to town. Watch out for these guys.
Right. ABA.
How long did you lisp for? Before I forget, you lisped.
Oh, that was in my elementary school days.
I lisped too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll tell you, a large percentage of people in the world, and I have a 12-year-old son, and he did it between ages 5 and 8.
Yeah.
And then
But just go away.
It went away. Now you can't shut him up. Can't shut you up either.
No, I like to chat. But don't you hate an adult lisper? I think now we can get that cleared up because you and I both lisp as children and we've overcome it. Yeah. And I think that we can agree that adult lispers are truly enraging to me.
You have to address it.
Yeah, it's like, how about you put your teeth together and make that sound? I did that when I was 7. I learned
you
it.
Did?
Yeah, so did Dr. J.
You say this and that.
Yeah, it's silly. When I see an adult doing that, oh, come on, it's so stupid. I just want to mash their tongue between their teeth and sever it. Teach them to talk properly.
The other thing that amazed me in the book was, and I was a huge fan of yours, you leave basketball in '87, and you only have, I say only just because of what they're making nowadays, you only had $9 million. That amazes me. So you didn't really get a taste of the really, really big salaries, right?
No, and I think there were, guys who never made an all-star team who got to $9 million very quick in the 90s.
Yes.
And
guys
only, you never heard of.
Only a few years later. Like you missed it by 2 or 3 years where they were really making the monster contracts.
Yeah, we thank David Stern for that. And obviously the players like myself and Kareem and others who were, the foundation for that platform. And Michael, of course, with the endorsements and the globalization of the sport. It all happened very quickly. I hate to say that we missed the boat because, there are things that influence your life, and obviously your economics are one of those things. So in terms of working hard and supporting your family and taking on new challenges and finding ways to get it done afterwards, if I quit basketball in 1987 and I said, well, I'm set for the rest of my life, I don't think I would be the individual that I am today. So by being very conscious of not being set for my life,
right.
Work ethic was still there and taking on new challenges, trying different things. I became a Coca-Cola bottler for one thing, and went on some public company and private company boards, and just began to expand my business horizon. And through good fortune, I've been able to almost get there. Well, where a lot of things are taken care of. I can't say, we're taken care of for the rest of our lives because, I think the more you make, the more you spend.
But you lost, my follow-up is you lost a lot of the money. You had the $9 million and then a few bad investments, then it really kind of dropped you down a bit for a while, huh?
Well, I don't think you should get locked in on that number. I've had a net worth 20 plus. And,
there you go.
So I've been there and had setbacks, climbed back, and it's a roller coaster ride just like life.
Right, Did you really give away between $6 and $10 million to people who are coming to you for help or whatever?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
With no form of repayment or no desire to get paid back, or were there a lot of loans that just never?
I didn't say there was no desire to get paid back.
Okay. There's a thing.
I didn't say that.
The desire is there.
There's a thing when you make a lot of money. I've handed out a lot of money, and there's always this I don't know, understanding on their part that you have so much money, of course you don't want it back.
And
so there's not even a thought of, look, if I'll try to pay you back someday.
Yeah, the problem is when you guys are walking down the street and they cross the street to avoid you.
Oh man,
that becomes a problem because there are a lot of friendships that have been lost.
Yeah.
Over loans and.
What's the biggest hunk someone had the balls to ask for? Not that you gave it to them, but what's the biggest hunk that you were like, you son of a bitch just asked me for this much that they didn't have the right to ask for?
6 figures.
Which should be over 100,000.
Wow. I had someone in my family do the exact same thing. And then they couldn't understand why I didn't come up with it. I'm like, I don't know how much money you think I have, but I can't just throw 100,000 at you. And it wasn't a brother or sister, I want to make that clear. But someone that was in dire straits came to me and said they needed 100 G's. I'm like, I'm not giving you 100 G's. I'll give you a couple thousand.
Wow, someone that wasn't even family?
Yeah.
Family.
And sometimes that's
a little more
sometimes that's the strategy.
Right.
Ask for a lot.
Right.
And well, you'll come up with a little something.
Right.
Negotiating.
And they really get what they really want.
Right.
And then this person was very disappointed in me that I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, I got family and other responsibilities here.
Yeah.
I can't come up with
there are
that.
other things. People fall from grace. They go to jail. They die. I've had by living as long as I've had, there's probably 6 to 10 people on that list of people who borrowed money who can't get paid back because they're dead.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. Won't see that money no more.
That's like the ultimate test.
Right.
Nobody passes the ultimate test.
That's right. Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor did that.
Oh, I like you.
That was, is it something I said?
The ultimate test.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy's a huge Richard Pryor fan.
I actually wrote that
Huge.
question down because you talked about Pryor in your that you were friends with him and yes,
No, I met him. We were acquaintances. We
Oh,
were
you
friendly
didn't hang out.
acquaintances.
Okay.
Yeah, we never had that tight friendship.
What did he ask you to hold?
Nothing. You never hold anything for Richard Pryor.
No, what did he ask? The question was, what did he ask you to hold
Like in
up?
the bag.
We
yeah,
know
what,
you didn't do it.
What did he ask you to hold?
Yeah.
In the bag?
Yeah.
That's part of one of his jokes. He always had, something in the bag, and you should never hold a bag if Richard Pryor asks you to hold it.
Oh, okay.
There's going to be drugs in it.
Right.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
it's kind of like an old one.
Was he nice to you?
Absolutely. I mean, when, I've had special relationships and multiple relationships with entertainers, and the entertainers all want to be athletes, and the athletes all want to be entertainers. My renditions of people's songs and monologues and stuff like that is, best kept in the shower,
Right.
kept in tight quarters. Although with who was it? When Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had his roast, and he had George Lopez there, and I did a little version of a stand-up as a way of roasting Kareem, and George gave me a high five on that one. He said, "Oh man, I'm glad to be a witness to your first stand-up. I loved it." Bam! So I was like, that might be validation.
Was it nice to roast him?
Oh, I had to roast him, man. I've been in the shadow for a lot of years, from even though he was 2 years ahead of me, coming out of New York, being a New York, ball player, flying under the radar. I mean, you're really under the radar when you got Lou Alcindor and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the radar. So I think I was probably runner-up 3 or 4 times in the NBA for MVP, second to him. So, yeah, being in the shadow. So it was good to roast him.
Can you explain what led? Because you talk about it in the book. You were seeing you would have this female, I think her name was Samantha, sports writer, would come and
From Philly.
yeah. And can you explain how she got pregnant? 'Cause that's one of my favorite stories that anyone's ever told about anything.
What did you read?
That normally she would just come and give you oral sex, but this time she got braces, so you couldn't have oral sex because she had metal in her mouth. So you had sex that one time, and she got
When you
pregnant.
say metal in the mouth, what do you mean?
Oh, braces.
Oh, I didn't say she had metal in her mouth, did I?
You said no. You said some type of tin or something that wasn't conducive with oral sex. Well, you said I forget. You named it as metal or something in the mouth.
I
Was
think I named it for what it was. I mean, she had, braces.
yeah, but there was another word used for it. I don't remember what it was. Yeah, I can't remember. But you said something.
Pull
It
it
was
up. I wanna see
Orthodontia. It just says orthodontia to straighten her teeth.
There you go. Orthodontia.
That night and that night only, they had intercourse.
Oh, okay. Maybe you did say it like with it. It was something else. It was describing something unpleasant.
Very high level when you say orthodontia.
That's right.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
nicer than metal in the mouth.
Well-
So, is that true? I mean, is that
Yeah. I mean, the book is factual. So it's based on fact, as I recall it. There's no disputing it from my standpoint, and this is a first-person book. So I think that's when it happened. Certainly wasn't Planned Parenthood.
right?
Right. Yeah, you were married at the time, and then you got the letter that,
Yeah, and
that-
I was 30 years old.
Yeah.
So some things you look back on at 11, 21, 31, 41, you look back on, and if you had to do it over again, you probably would do it a little differently. But,
Yeah.
In that situation, the blessing in disguise is that, a beautiful young lady who has made a contribution to the world.
A very talented tennis player.
Came out of
Samantha.
that relationship.
But
And,
the arrangement you had, so your wife at the time basically said, look, you do everything that's right, make sure you pay child support or whatever. but she didn't want you to really have any contact with Samantha at the time.
Yeah.
Do you have some
well,
regrets?
it became a East Coast, West Coast.
Right.
Because Samantha moved to San Diego. And so that in itself, geography was going to lessen the contact. And I saw her several times while she was growing up.
Did she know you were her dad all along?
Yeah, she knew. I mean, I met her within the first 5 years of her life.
Oh, okay.
So she
I always thought that she didn't know until later on.
Right.
No, we met in the first 5 years of her life. In terms of the later meeting, I mean, it was after she was 16.
Okay.
Obviously we became public when she was 18.
Right.
19 actually. But privately she knew.
How did your wife find out about it? I guess you had to tell her. How did she find out about it?
No, I write it in the book. There was Samantha wrote me a letter, and read the letter, and I shared it with my wife.
You showed her the letter.
Yeah, I showed her the letter.
And then she beat. I was going to say she beat the crap out of you. That's not fair, but there was some punches thrown right after that. And can I say what she called
a
you?
reaction. Yeah.
I mean, it's tough.
I mean, you don't have to grind it out, but
okay,
yeah, because it is a read, and it's
in the book,
and in the context,
right?
We're talking about children. So that particular chapter, and I have 4 sons, 3 daughters. So we're talking about children and people being born into this world. So the circumstances vary with each childbirth, and with this particular situation, there's additional information there, which balances the perspective. Because I wanted to be transparent and truthful. So yes, I mean, when I told her about it, she was very upset. She really asked me to leave the house. I was trying to get out of the house because I was getting bombarded, and verbally and physically. So I left the house. A couple days.
Were you concerned at first? Because I would have thought we had sex one time, it wasn't mine. Or did you kind of know that it was your
No, I didn't know. No, we had to test.
Yeah, there was a test that happened.
We had to validate through testing, and test came back positive. So had to own up.
Well, there were other women that
and obviously in the 70s and 80s, I mean, free love, hippies. I mean, so deadbeats abound. I mean, you guys probably knew a few or whatever. Right. I got a child over here, but
So I'm assuming there were a few other tests.
You're in denial,
right?
So they're in denial, and I had my moments in which I had my doubts, but test proved positive. I said, well, this is what we have to do, and it was a collective decision made to create a child support situation and a living arrangement that allowed me to continue, with my wife and my family, understanding, and for Samantha and Alexandra to exist as they did.
How's your relationship with her now?
I wouldn't say it's the best, and the book hasn't made it any better. The book hasn't made it any better, but these are part of the challenges in life. So when and if, there will be a time in which, I have to deal with the accountability associated with being a father, and I feel there's responsibility there, but there's also an understanding that at age 32, she's an adult, and at 63, I'm an adult. So we have to communicate with each other as adult to adult.
You said something Bill Cosby told you that it's hard to grow up poor and raise rich kids, which I thought was a really interesting way to look at what it's like to be in that situation.
Yeah, I think the difficulty of affluence personifies itself because you have so many choices, that you didn't have. I mean, I went to Prospect Elementary School because it was the local school, and I walked, and probably, seemed like 3 miles. It was probably a mile, especially when it was cold and wintry, and growing up in Long Island, put your coats on, bundle up, and, you got to go to school, and you got to try to be there on time. And then within that system, you start saying, well, I never want to be late. I never want to be absent. I want to be one of those kids, that has never late, never absent. So, my kids really didn't have to deal with that. They got chauffeured to school. I'm the chauffeur, or the mom's the chauffeur, or we have a driver, who's taking them and picking them up and dropping them off.
Yeah.
And within the education and social development, so many options for people who are affluent that you're forced to make decisions that when you're poor you don't have to make. It's only one option: go or you stay home. Get smart or stay dumb. And that's oversimplifying it, but that's the reality of it. So that's what that was all about.
Do you still line everything up? I was fascinated by how you line. Like right now, I'm looking at the way you have your. It's not, but it struck me as very
I have my stuff organized over here.
It struck me as very, very OCD to have all of this stuff lined up. And have you ever thought of yourself as OCD?
What's that?
Obsessive compulsive disorder, like the obsession over things being lined up or numbers, or like a lot of athletes get it with time.
Just when they spell my name Irving, I have a little problem with that.
What he's talking about is the whatever dummy made up our prep sheet, which wasn't even in here. Spelled it right on this side, but here they spelled it Dr. Julius Irving.
Give props to Kyrie on that one.
What the?
Yeah. They spelled his name wrong on the overall front sheet.
Yeah, I like order. I like things nice.
Oh,
I
God.
like things,
We know
lines and columns. I like it.
But athletes,
I'm probably not sick because of it, but I like it. I prefer order versus disorder.
I don't think it's a surprise because athletes have their routine, right? You probably had a nice routine, game day, and everything had to be just right.
No question. John
Yeah.
Wooden's 10 Principles, Pat Riley, Pyramid of Success. All of those things ring true in terms of being more successful, and you try to, I guess, include anything that's going to give you a bit of an advantage. So if you have a great day and you've done things a certain way, you tend to go back and try to do that same thing. And sports does introduce you to that.
What do you think of the game today? What's your thoughts?
The game's in pretty good shape. I think David's moving on. Adam's taking over, and he's leaving it much better than it was when he started. So his legacy is cemented in stone. And I watched the game. Obviously, there's some bad games and some bad nights, but there's so much exposure that the guys get. So you get to see them in a way that you didn't in the past. Because there's so much exposure. You see the bad games, and you see guys having bad nights, and then they got to come back the next night and shake it off and play. So even the superstars, with the scrutiny that you have, it's amazing that the sport continues to become more popular, and guys are able to handle it. Everybody can't handle it because there's some cases out there, where they clearly can't handle becoming a corporation at age, 18, 19, 20, 21. And, there's an understanding of that. So I think the league and the higher-ups in the league understand that they got to give coaching, they got to give training way beyond just the physical training of, having a guy understand the fundamentals of the game. There's the fundamentals of the business. And it is a huge business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. Sure. And, as you always say, the chain's only as strong as the weakest link. So it's a constant feeding and exchange of information to try and make it better. And I think that's what makes it best league in the world.
I got to ask you about Larry Bird. When was the last time you talked to him?
When Indiana was in the playoffs last year, I went and I did a game for TV, and got with the TNT guys and hung out in Indiana for a couple of days. So, we just said hi, hi and bye. It's not like we tight,
Right.
But I think there's a mutual respect there. I mean, I really admire what he's been able to do in terms of moving into the executive position that he has, and pretty much calling his own shots. He's helped to assemble a wonderful franchise out there, and I'm an old ABA guy, so I pull for all the ABA teams, so there's always going to be a soft spot in my heart for
not so soft. I'm mad
for Indiana. Indiana.
I'm mad that you got a 76ers hat on instead of a Nets hat.
But you shouldn't be mad about that.
I'm mad.
It was a choice.
I'm a Long Island guy.
It was a choice to make, and since I had the blue jeans instead of the black jeans,
that's all it is.
I went for the color.
Okay, all right.
But I got my Nets hat.
All right, you got your Nets hat. Okay,
I'm probably gonna wear it tomorrow.
Okay, good.
You want to come and have lunch tomorrow?
I love the ABA and I love the Nets, man.
Yeah,
I loved it. But
the
and
Nets, Spurs, Nuggets, and the Pacers. I mean, I got
the Conquistadors. How about that one? Remember the San Diego Conquistadors? I do.
Wilt Chamberlain, yeah, and Bird Everett.
Wow, very good. Well,
Travis the Machine Grant.
You have book signings.
Some guys.
Sorry, they want us to mention your book signings too. If you want to get a book signed, the book is excellent.
It really is.
I love
very
it.
honest. I love when you guys write an honest book a lot. We don't see it often. We really don't. We read a lot of these books. But Dr. J, you did yourself right, man.
What's today's date?
The 6th.
Okay, so tomorrow night, the 7th, here it's in New Jersey in Northvale. It's Books and Greetings at 6 p.m. And then the 9th, which is I don't know what day that is, but we're on in Atlanta. Saturday the 9th is Peachtree Road, Barnes & Noble in Atlanta, Georgia.
Right.
The 13th, which is
Wednesday.
Thank you. 4 days after that, Wednesday will be at Barnes & Noble in Exton, Pennsylvania, on Main Street. And then the 19th, which is Tuesday the 19th at Barnes.
No, that's actually December 19th.
Oh,
wow,
a lot of counting on your fingers.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's just leave it at
That'll
those
be in
three.
L.A.
Okay, Jersey, Atlanta, and Exton, Pennsylvania coming up to meet Dr. J and get your book signed, and it really was great.
Do we have time for one more question? It's a good one. I'm not going to put you in a tough spot.
Okay.
We saw recently the clip of you getting taken out of the game with the 76ers. Mm-hmm. It was so damn emotional, and everyone knew it was coming, where they were going to take you out for the curtain call. What goes through your mind? That is it. They're taking you out of the game for the last time.
Yeah.
Do you remember exactly what you were thinking?
Well, I'm a candid guy, right? So the emotions ran the gamut. I wanted to play well. I mean, that last game I had 24 points, 11 rebounds. So I wasn't leaving because I couldn't play anymore. I was leaving because I was able to go out the front door in terms of my basketball career and my chosen profession, whereas I came in the side door. So I had announced this is my last year. Now we were in the last playoff game, against a team that we respected a whole lot. The Milwaukee-Philadelphia rivalry was great during that time. They had Bob Lanier, Marcus Johnson, and Junior Bridgman, and Paul Pierce. I mean, they had a monster team, Quinn Buckner. And we had a monster team, but we were so close to one another, and we always ended up a little bit ahead of them, but not this night.
Right.
So I'm, I'm thinking that okay, the run is over. A lot of people are going to be sad, but I wanted to celebrate that moment, and I also wanted to celebrate the freedom from living in the fish tank, living in the fishbowl, because, I had, lived in a fishbowl for 16 years, and those last 11 in the NBA, and there were circumstances, some of which we've talked about today, that were personal and private and unaddressable, truly in the whole form, while I was living in the fishbowl. So part of my mission, for after 1987, getting out of the fishbowl, was to, show up my private life. And, for the next 2 years, most of the things that I did, I wanted to pull back from the public arena and, charge my battery and exercise certain options, so I did go on private situations, private corporate situations. I still did public stuff, but one of the things I turned down was, the lifetime contract that the Sixers offered to come and, work for the organization and maybe, do what Larry Bird has done, help build a franchise into a winner and, stay in the same arena. It's important for me to, get out and try new things and start fulfilling the destiny for Julius Erving.
Right.
Kind of set Dr. J on the side.
It was a sense of relief. You were ready to move. You were ready to move on.
Huge sense of relief.
You were like
huge sense of relief. So that was what going through my mind. And I'm walking out with the ball, and the referees had a little threat put on them. So the two referees are walking with me, and they tell me when they get in the hallway, they said, there was a threat on us for this game. I don't know why, but we figured if we walked out for you, they're not going to take the shot. so I'm like, thanks.
wow.
I suppose they did decide to take the shot.
And no regrets. No regrets.
Oh, at the end of the day, 16 years.
You left when you wanted to.
Sweet 16. I couldn't have asked for more. I mean, coming in that side door, I mean, I always thought, when they talk now, 5 or 6 years, average length of time for a professional's career, professional basketball player's career. Football's even shorter. Baseball's probably the longest, hockey's longer. But on the average, because some guys are just there for a cup of coffee, it's 5 or 6 years. So once I got past 10, I mean, I was in the gravy zone. I got all the way to 16. And I have a lot of statistics that are longevity stats. If you're around long enough, I mean, I leave game as third leading scorer in pro basketball history, first in steals, top 10 in block shots.
Yeah.
So those are longevity stats, and if you're not around a long time, you don't get there.
Right. Right on. They're saying
It has to go, yeah. But thank you very much, and love the book. Really did. Loved it.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely,
guys.
Dr.
Appreciate
J.
the need and the time to talk to you about it.
Come back and see us, man.
Okay, we'll do.
All right. Dr. J, everyone. I don't know if we could break because we got Jason Statham outside.
Oh, we do, don't we?
You want to do a quick break? Real quick, E-Rock.
Yeah, we can do 2 minutes.
All right.
The Opie and Anthony Show, Sirius XM. Here's a call. All right, well, that sucked. To hear the Opie and Anthony Show 5 days a week live on satellite radio, online on your phone or tablet, or even on demand, go to SiriusXM.com. Also, interact with the Opie and Anthony Show on Twitter, @Opie Radio, @Anthony Cumia, and @Jim Norton.